I'm Cory and I'm an airbrush artist. For me, painting is a really meditative space to get into. When I get a new project, it's nerve-wracking. You know, there's anxiety, you gotta figure out designs. But once I have the design down, and I can get into that zone of just painting, just airbrushing. You're not touching the surface, you're just watching the paint hit and develop. It's a zone that all artists can get into, musicians or whoever, but that's the flow state. When you can get into that state, it's beautiful. I first was introduced to an airbrush in 1996 when I moved to Hawaii, and I answered an ad in the classifieds for an artist's apprentice. So I've always been artistic, so I applied for this job and actually got the job. The first thing I ever painted with an airbrush was just a random painting on the wall, just trying it out. And I fell in love with it. To me, that was the ultimate tool. You could just blend, you could do everything with an airbrush, I found, right away. You can work fast, you can work small and detailed, but you can also blend big areas, all with the same tool. And it's kind of magical because you're not actually touching the surface. It's almost like watching it develop in your mind. You just think about what you want, and it just develops in front of you. Upon returning home from Hawaii a year later, I bought an airbrush, and I just started playing around with it. As soon as I got back, I just started working at a sawmill, so not very artistic. But in all my spare time, I was airbrushing.
I met Cory when I was 18. He had just come back from Hawaii. Life went on, a few years passed, and when I was 21, he and I started a relationship. I did not know he was artistic, and it was probably a good 6 to 9 months into the relationship when I was at his house. I walked into this room and it had these paintings and these sketches and artwork everywhere, signed by C. Cannon. I have to say it's probably the first time I was ever frustrated with him because I felt like I had been seeing this guy for so long. I had no clue who he was. He was so incredibly talented. So after discovering the secret art room, he was on a breakup from the mill, and he was either looking at going into art full-time and knowing that he was going to have a good opportunity to starve during that, or he was going to go back to traditional employment at the local mill, which is something that I know that he absolutely dreaded doing.
We decided to open an art and gift shop. So that gave me exposure to the community and brought me out as an airbrush artist. I guess we were open about 2 years, but it gave me a lot of room for people to see my work and to interact with the public. The result of that is I got so busy with commissioned work that I didn't have any time for that store. So at that point, we closed the store and I started painting full-time. When you first start out, you always are thinking about the next job, you know? That's the next meal, you gotta keep them going. At some point, I stopped thinking about that, and they just kept rolling in. And after the jobs just keep rolling in continuously for a few years, you realize it's not gonna stop. So then you can stop thinking about that and just think about the jobs you have and not the ones that you're going to need in the future.
It was so exciting to see what the next project was. And every time the phone rang and it was a new client, the new job, the excitement was crazy. And when he got his first memorial, we both sat there and we kind of reviewed like, wow, this is big to have somebody want to put their memorial through his artwork. I've
painted a lot of different things over the years. I've painted cars, motorcycles, goalie masks, helmets.
When I get the opportunity to see Cory's work outside of home, I just get this overwhelming sense of pride.
Skis, snowboards, toilet seats, kitchen tables, three-dimensional sculptures, model robots, guitars.
This is a man who I have watched through so many stages of this journey.
She really encouraged me to keep going with it. And over the years, she's without a doubt been my biggest supporter. I wouldn't be doing this today without her. There's countless times in the early days where it's very difficult to make a living as an artist. And it can be frustrating, and many times I threatened to get a real job, and she wouldn't let me. I first started painting goalie masks initially I guess I would have painted hard hats and motorcycle helmets. I painted some welding helmets, some firemen's hats, and then right in with all those are goalie masks. So, you know, the last several years I've been painting a lot of masks for the Kootenay Ice. And currently in the shop I'm working on a mask for the KIJHL Dynamiters, and that's Adam Andersen's mask. He had a friend draw up a picture, which was my reference, which was really good. So it's always nice when a client can bring you a good idea. So building on that, most of it is mountains. It's just a subtle rocky mountain scene in the background, which is all freehand airbrush, meaning I don't use any stencils or anything. And for me, that's what I love to do. It's relaxing. You can really get in that zone and just forget about it. And you watch those mountains develop in front of your own eyes, you know. That's the magic part. From start to finish, the project usually takes anywhere from 2 weeks to a month or so. Once all the artwork's done, I'll put on 3 coats of a polyurethane clear coat, and then that dries overnight, reassemble, and then it's time to get it back to the client. I really prefer to do that in person. Sometimes you have to just ship it back for time constraints, but if I can actually get a meeting in person, I really like to do that. It's nerve-wracking. I have never done one that I'm not nervous. I've never done any project that I'm not nervous when the client actually comes to see it. It's a real personal thing for me. So I want them to be happy. That means a lot to me.
It's been something I've been looking towards since the summer started. Finding someone to paint my mask, and obviously Cory was a great fit. I've seen some of his work, and I'm excited to see it. I think it's going to look fantastic.
Well, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You going to do the honors?
Yeah, we'll do it together.
Okay.
We'll do it together.
1, 2, 3. There.
Wow. Oh my. That is incredible.
Thank you.
Look at that. Wow. Wow. You have no idea. This is absolutely... Wow. I can't even... This is the most amazing piece of artwork I've ever seen in my, held in my hands.
I'm speechless.
I think I'm kind of lost for words. I think it's amazing. It's a very incredible piece of art, and I'm very happy. Growing up in the Kootenays and in KIJHL, the mountains is obviously the biggest thing that people think about. So having the mountains on there all around the mask was something that I definitely wanted. And then up top here, obviously in KIJHL with the Sullivan Mine, something that's very, very big for KIJHL and a very big piece of history. So I got the tracks going up and the miner coming through the tracks just to represent the mine and everything that goes on there. And then on the back, just kind of a cartoon dynamite stick. My dad's kind of idea. So it was something that I liked right away. It was just kind of add a little fun to it. Just a little more like a relaxing feeling on the back plate. It's kind of a personal thing. And then obviously tribute to the Humboldt Broncos, that tragic accident. So I wanted that on there for sure. And then 2018 KIJHL champions. Going to keep this mask for the rest of my life. It's, yeah, I'm very, very, very happy.
Sometimes I'm still surprised by the amount of work that people get done. I think it's an honor to have somebody come to you and have you do a piece of artwork for them. It still surprises me that people do that, you know? And I think that's amazing. That keeps people like me going.